I stare at my phone like it had betrayed me too. I'm sorry. I can't do this. 3 words and my world fell apart. I tapped the screen again, hoping, begging for a second line. Nothing. Just those words, sharp and cold, slicing through me to dial her number. Once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. My thumb hovered over the call button one more time, trembling. I could hear Omar's voice in my head. Practical, always practical. Don't overreact, man. She probably just needs space. Space? She didn't just need space. She disappeared a week before the wedding. I slammed my phone onto the kitchen counter. Space? She left me? I shouted into the empty apartment, my words echoing like a taunt. I had thought we were perfect. The ring, the plans, the vows rehearsed a dozen times in my head, gone. All of it gone. The doorbell rang. I didn't want company. And yet, I knew who it would be. Omar stepped in, his brow furrowed, arms crossed. You look like hell, he said bluntly. I feel like hell. I snapped, pacing. She just leaves. No explanation. No warning. Nothing. Omar sighed. Sit down. Let's talk like humans, not like lunatics pacing a floor. I flopped onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. I trusted her, Omar. I gave her everything. My time, my heart, hell, even my stupid loyalty. My voice cracked, and she just walks away. Okay, slow down, Omar said calmly. Let's break this down. You're hurt, obviously. You're angry, of course. But right now, freaking out won't help. I raised my head, eyes blazing. Freaking out? Do you know how it feels to plan your whole life with someone, to imagine every detail, every little thing, and then, poof, they vanish and leave a stupid text? I held my phone up like it had personally betrayed me. Omar leaned back, trying not to smile at my theatrics. Yeah, I get it, but yelling at me isn't going to bring her back. Have you tried calling her friends? Her family? Someone has to know something. I shook my head violently. I can't. It's humiliating. Imagine everyone knowing your fiancé ditched you like some joke. I can't even face my parents. You can, and you will, Omar said firmly, but not yet. Not while you're this emotional. Let's figure this out logically. Did she leave anything else? A note? Email? Something. I scrolled my phone again, hoping for a miracle. Nothing. Just this cursed text. I muttered, I can't even hate her properly. I'm stuck between wanting to find her and wanting to scream at her. Omar's voice softened. You loved her. That's why it hurts. But man, you're smarter than this. You don't collapse over someone's betrayal. You adapt. You survive. Survive? I laughed bitterly. I was supposed to survive happily. You know? Wedding, honeymoon, the whole cliché life. And now I'm nothing. Nothing? No way. You're better than that, he said. Right now you're angry. Good. That's fuel. You can use it if you stop letting it eat you alive. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady myself. Fuel for what? Revenge? Justice? I don't even know if I want her back. Part of me wants to crush her, like she crushed me. Bingo. That's the start, Omar said. Anger can be good if you channel it. Right now, you have 2 choices. Spiral into self-pity or plot your next move. You're not the self-pity type, are you? I sat silently, the rage simmering beneath my chest. My mind replayed her laugh, the way she looked at me in those fleeting, perfect moments. And then I remember the awkward shift in her eyes over the past month. The small lies I had brushed off. The hidden phone calls that I clenched my fists. She's not just leaving me. There's something else. Something I missed. I can feel it. She's hiding. Omar nodded. Exactly. And that's why you can't just sit here crying. You find out what's really going on. And if someone thinks they can humiliate you, well, they're about to learn the hard way that you don't go down that easy. I swallowed hard, the first spark of determination flickering in me. You're right. I won't let this define me. Not Alina, not anyone. I'll figure this out. I'll get answers. Omar smirked. That's the spirit. And hey, if revenge happens to sneak in there too, I won't judge. I shot him a glare, but couldn't hide my slight smile. Don't tempt me. The apartment felt smaller now, tighter. I couldn't stay here wallowing. I needed movement, action, something tangible. I'll start with her friends, then her family. Somewhere there's a clue, a hint. She didn't just vanish into thin air. Omar pulled a chair closer, leaning in. And when you find it, don't just react. Think. Strategize. You're smart. Use your head, not just your heart. I nodded slowly. Yep, my heart got me hurt, that's for sure. Maybe it's time my head takes over. But my voice softened as guilt crept in. Part of me still wants her back, even after everything. Omar shrugged. That's human. But remember, you can want something and still not let it destroy you. That's the difference. I exhaled, letting some of the tension out. Okay, step 1, information. Step 2, we'll see. I can't promise I'll be calm about it, but I will do it. You'll do it, Omar echoed. And I'll be here to remind you to keep breathing when you start losing it. I chuckled, though it felt hollow. Thanks, man. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do without you. You'd probably punch a wall, or worse, text her in a rage. So, really, I'm saving you from yourself, Omar said, deadpan that I smirked despite the ache in my chest. Maybe you are. Silence fell between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a kind of silence filled with unspoken plans, raw emotion, and the faint, stubborn spark that maybe, just maybe, I could survive this. Not just survive, maybe I could turn it around. I looked at my phone again, reading those 3 words one last time. I'm sorry. I can't do this. Yeah, she can't do this. But I will. I won't let this break me. Not her, not anyone. I'll find a way. And when I do, I'll make sure she understands what she's lost. And with that thought, a slow, cold determination settled over me. This betrayal isn't the end. It's the beginning. I stood in Alina's parents' living room, my chest tight, my fist trembling as her mother avoided my eyes. I'm asking you again, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Where is she? Why won't anyone tell me what's going on? Her mother wrung her hands. Beta, it's complicated. It wasn't complicated yesterday. I snapped. So what changed overnight? Did I do something? Did she say something? Just talk to me. Her father cleared his throat, but still didn't look at me. Maybe it's best if you give her time. Time for what? I shouted. To disappear? To pretend I never existed. He flinched but stayed silent. That MY breath came out uneven. I've been calling her nonstop. She blocked me. She blocked me. I repeated the words like I was trying to convince myself they were real. Her mother whispered, We don't know the full story either. That's a lie, I said sharply. All of you know something, and you're choosing not to tell me. Alina's younger sister, Mira, stood in the corner, arms folded tightly. She muttered, It's her life. She doesn't owe you an explanation. I turned to her. After 3 years together? After everything we planned? She owes me at least one honest sentence. She rolled her eyes and looked away at MY, anger twisted into something heavier. Fine, I said. If no one wants to talk, I'll find the answers myself. I stepped toward the door, but Alina's cousin, Rafi, blocked my path. Bro, calm down. Move. I said, just listen. I've been listening all morning. I cut him off. To silence. To excuses. To everyone acting like I wasn't part of her life at all. Rafi raised his hands. We don't know where she is either. She hasn't been home since last night. I froze. What do you mean she hasn't been home? Her mother whispered. She left after phone call. She packed some things. Tears gathered in her eyes. She didn't say where she was going. My stomach dropped harder. Packed? For what? Why would she need to pack? We don't know. Her father said it, but even he didn't sound convinced that I felt like the floor shifted beneath me. I ran a hand through my hair. Did something happen between her and someone? Did she say anything? Anything at all? Silence again. I let out a harsh laugh. Right. Of course. Memories shoved their way into my head. Her sudden late nights. The time she said she was exhausted from urgent work. the way she'd rush to silence her phone whenever I walked into the room. At the time, I dismissed it as stress. Now it felt like clues I ignored because I trusted her too much that I turned back to the room. If she didn't tell you where she went, fine. But at least tell me why she would run like this. Did she ever mention being unhappy with me? Mira scoffed. Not everything is about you. Oh, really? I shot back. She throws away 3 years and disappears, and I'm supposed to pretend I have nothing to do with it? Her mother whispered, maybe she needed space. From what? I demanded. From me? From her life? From us? My voice cracked at the last word, and one answered. I felt something crumble inside me, and I walked toward the kitchen, needing air, space, anything. But as soon as I stepped in, I saw 2 of Alina's friends whispering frantically to each other. When they saw me, they froze. What? I asked coldly. Say it. Whatever it is, just say it. One of them, Sanaa, bit her lip. We don't want to get involved. You already are. I replied. Do you know something? Her friend shook her head too quickly. No. Lies again. I whispered that I stepped closer. Tell me the truth. Did she meet someone? Sanaa swallowed. I don't know the details. But you know something. My voice lowered. What was it? Who was it? Her friend whispered, barely audible. There were rumors. A cold chill slid down my spine. Rumors about what? They exchanged looks and remained silent. I laughed bitterly. Great. More secrets. I pushed past them and left the house before I exploded again. Outside, the afternoon sun felt too bright, too harsh. My anger had nowhere to go, so it just kept boiling inside me. I leaned against my car and closed my eyes, trying to breathe, try to think, try and understand how everything collapsed overnight. That's when I heard a voice behind me. I guess they're still not talking. I turned and saw Layla, one of Alina's office colleagues. Standing near her car with her arms crossed, I wiped my face. No one is saying anything. She studied me carefully. You look destroyed. I feel worse, I muttered. She hesitated before walking closer. I shouldn't get involved, but maybe you need to hear this. My chest tightened. Hear what? Alina's been spending a lot of time with Richard lately. The name hit me like a punch. Richard? Her boss. Layla nodded slowly that I felt my voice sharpen. What kind of time? Late meetings, private conversations, lunches that weren't exactly professional. She lowered her voice. People noticed. I thought she told you. She never told me anything. I said, not one thing. Layla sighed. She changed after Richard joined. It was obvious to anyone watching. I looked away, my throat dry. So she lied, and everyone else watched it happen. She didn't tell us much either, Layla said softly. But Richard, he has influence, and people avoid crossing him. Anger surged through me, hot and blinding. So that's it. She left me for him. I never said that, Layla replied quickly. But something was happening. Something she didn't want anyone to question. I stepped back, breathing hard. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Because it wasn't my place. Right, I said bitterly. She reached out as if to steady me. Listen. Just be careful. Richard isn't someone you want to fight. I met her eyes. Maybe I do. No, she said firmly. Don't do something stupid. I pulled away from her and walked to my car, my steps heavy. My head spun as puzzle pieces snapped together. Her sudden changes, her distance, the half-truths, the blocked calls. Richard, everything pointed in. I sat inside the car and gripped the steering wheel until my hand shook. A sharp, cold determination settled inside me, one I had never felt before. I won't stay broken, I whispered to myself. Not anymore. The pain inside me hardened into something new, something dangerous, something like revenge, and I knew, starting now, I would take back control of my life, no matter what it cost. I walked into Rashid's office, still shaking with the same raw anger that had been burning in my chest since the moment I learned the truth about Alina and Richard. I can't keep sitting in this misery, I said as I dropped in the chair across from him. I need a direction, something that puts me back in control. Rashid leaned back, raising an eyebrow. Then talk, What's crawling through that furious brain of yours? Want revenge? I admitted, the words almost choking me. Not just for what she did, but for how powerless it made me feel. Want to hurt the people who treated me like I was nothing. That includes Richard, he asked. That especially includes Richard. He nodded slowly. So what's the plan? I don't have one yet, I said, but I'm done sitting in the dark. I spent the next hour pacing his office, letting my thoughts spill out. Every memory of Alina felt like poison. Her late-night messages she claimed were work emergencies, the sudden change in her attitude, the way she avoided meeting my eyes toward the end, had missed the signs or trusted too much. Either way, the humiliation settled deep in my bones. Rashid watched me with folded arms. You're not thinking small, are you? Because small revenge is pointless. Go for something that shakes the ground beneath their feet. Want something that takes everything from him the way he took everything from me. I said, then start digging, Rashid replied. Richard's life isn't exactly private. He's powerful, but powerful people always have cracks. That thought stayed with me long after I left. By evening, I scrolled through articles, interviews, and business features focusing on Richard. His achievements were everywhere, but so were glimpses of his personal world, especially one recurring name, Isabella. The moment I saw her photograph, something clicked. She was elegant, poised, untouchable, a socialite with influence, adored by the public, and connected to every circle Richard dominated. Rashid called me as soon as I sent him the link. You're thinking something insane, he said. I can hear it. What if I married her? I asked bluntly. He choked on his laughter. You want to marry Richard's daughter? Are you out of your mind? Perfectly in my mind, I replied. Think about it. If I become part of his family, I gain leverage. He won't be untouchable anymore. And Isabella? She's the gateway. Rashid sighed. This is either genius or disastrous. But I'm listening. Get close to her, I said. Charm her. Make her see me as someone worth trusting. If she falls for me, Richard loses control. And Alina? Rashid asked. She'll watch everything she threw away rise higher than her reach. He whistled. You're serious. Dead serious. The idea felt vicious, manipulative, morally twisted. Yet right. Hated that it felt right. Hated that part of me was willing to use someone innocent just to strike at the man who wrecked my life. But the hunger for justice, my kind of justice, overpowered any guilt. Rashid finally said, if you're doing this, you need to meet her somewhere natural. Not random, not desperate. Something elegant. She attends high society charity events, fashion nights, private showcases. Pick one and show up dressed like the man she can't ignore. There's a gala tonight, I said. A fundraiser. She's on the guest list. Then go, he said. And remember, smile like nothing in your life is broken. The venue glowed with gold and crystal light when I arrived. Stepped into the hall trying to mask every trembling thought behind confidence. People moved like they were floating, dressed in expensive fantasies. Felt out of place but refused to show it. Rashid helped me pick a suit that looked expensive enough to blend in. As I adjusted the cuffs, he whispered through the phone. She's near the center. Black dress, silver necklace. Don't stare like an idiot. Approach with class. Not an idiot, I muttered. You're an emotionally unstable man pretending to flirt with royalty, he countered. So behave. I took a deep breath and walked toward her. Isabella was even more breathtaking up close, an aura of effortless grace, the kind of beauty that didn't need attention but received it anyway. Clearing my throat softly, I said, Excuse me, is a seat taken? She looked at me, mildly curious. It is now, I suppose. I'm lucky then. She tilted her head. Do I know you? Not yet, I answered, but I'd like to change that. Her lips curved slightly. You're bold. Been told. We talked for several minutes, exchanging light remarks about the event, the art pieces displayed around the hall, and the overly dramatic speeches being delivered on stage. Despite the weight inside me, I managed to keep the conversation charming. Isabella's laughter felt genuine, a soft, melodic sound that stirred something unexpected in me. You don't seem like the usual crowd here, she noted. What gave me away? You look like you're trying to hide something behind that smile. I froze for a moment. Maybe I admitted, but nothing dangerous. She leaned closer. Everyone here is hiding something. It's the only reason these events stay interesting. I fit right in. She laughed again. Maybe you do. She gestured toward the balcony. It's too loud in here. Walk with me? Of course. We stepped into the cool air, the city lights flickering below. She rested her arms on the railing. So tell me, what brought you here tonight? Honestly, a fresh start, I said carefully. Needed to feel like wasn't stuck in the same place forever. That sounds painful, she said gently. It was, I admitted, but learning to breathe again. She studied me for a long moment. You're not lying. I can tell. Her sincerity unsettled me. It wasn't part of the plan. Wasn't supposed to feel understood. Wasn't supposed to feel anything. Before I responded, a familiar voice echoed from behind us. A voice I despised instantly. Isabella, Richard called. She straightened. Father. He walked toward us with the authority of someone who expected the world to move aside. He barely glanced at me before saying, We're leaving soon. Already? She asked. Yes, he said sharply. His eyes landed on me, narrowing with calculated interest. And you are... Someone enjoying the event, I said steadily. Enjoy less, he replied coldly. Pulling Isabella away as she left, she gave me a small, apologetic smile. Rashid whispered to my earpiece. Well, that went better than expected. I exhaled. The plan has begun. But deep inside, I felt the first crack in my resolve. A dangerous awareness of the woman I was supposed to manipulate. And for the first time, revenge didn't feel as simple as I wanted it to be. I spotted Isabella across the room before she noticed me. She moved with a confidence that seemed effortless, a quiet gravity pulling everyone's attention without trying. My chest tightened. I had planned this encounter down to minute, yet my palms were sweaty as I straightened my jacket. Rashid's words echoed in my head. Stay calm. Charm her. Don't let her see anything. I took a deep breath and approached her. Excuse me, I said smoothly. May I join you for a moment? She turned, her sharp green eyes assessing me with the precision of a hawk. Do I know you? Not yet, I replied with a grin I hoped looked natural. But I'd like to change that. Her lips curved slightly, amused. Ambitious. I like that. I like being ambitious. I said, sometimes it pays off. She raised an eyebrow. Sometimes. I leaned casually against the balcony railing. Well, life's unpredictable, isn't it? She studied me, her gaze unsettlingly direct. You're hiding something. I can tell. I chuckled softly, trying to sound relaxed. Maybe, or maybe I just don't reveal everything to strangers. You don't strike me as the type to bluff, she said, a faint smirk on her lips. I've seen enough people like you, carefully crafted facades. You're different. I felt a flicker of surprise. Nobody had ever read me that quickly. Different how? You carry yourself like someone who's lost something, but doesn't want anyone to notice, she said as I paused. Should I deflect, lie, or tell the truth? My instinct told me to keep my guard up, but curiosity nudged me. I suppose that depends on whether you consider honesty dangerous. She tilted her head, studying me. Sometimes it's lethal. I'm willing to take the risk, I said, letting the smallest trace of my genuine self slip through. She laughed quietly, and the sound hit me in a way I wasn't prepared for. Warm, real, dangerous. I shook my head, pushing the thought aside. Focus. Revenge. That's why you're here. So what brings you to this gala? She asked, eyes still measuring me. Business, networking, and perhaps meeting the right person. I said carefully. Ambition again, she replied, raising an eyebrow. Do you always speak in vague, polished sentences? Not always, I admitted, just when I want to make an impression. She smirked. Impression made. You're clever, and a little irritating. I'll take that as a compliment, I said, smiling. Her gaze softened slightly. You know, most people here wouldn't notice me if I walked through a hurricane. I've noticed, I said, and the words felt heavier than I intended. She studied me, perhaps recognizing sincerity or simply evaluating my response. "You're unusually direct," she said. "Direct gets things done," I replied. She laughed again, a musical sound that made my chest tighten. "And yet, I can't tell if you're being serious or just charming me." "Perhaps a little of both," I said. "Depends on how much you trust me." Her eyes sparkled with amusement. "Trust isn't given lightly, you know." "Good," I said. "Neither is loyalty. But I find it compelling when it's earned." She looked at me, slightly intrigued. "You're bold, dangerous, even." I smiled faintly. "I prefer effective." "Effective?" she repeated. "You're starting to sound like one of those men who thinks power is a game. Isn't it?" I asked lightly. "Or maybe it's a lesson in patience." Her lips twitched. "Clever. But patience can be overrated. Sometimes action speaks louder than waiting." I nodded, internally noting every word, every subtle expression. She's intelligent, observant, not easily impressed. Perfect for my plan, and yet every word she spoke sent a tiny, unexpected spark through me. "You seem complicated," she said after a pause, studying me intently. "I could say the same about you," I replied. "But complications are interesting. They reveal character." Her eyes narrowed slightly, challenging me. "Character or strategy?" I laughed softly. "Maybe both. Who's to say?" She tilted her head, considering my words. Most people would have stumbled over that answer. "I like to surprise people," I said. "Keeps life entertaining." Her smirk widened. "Entertaining, yes. But is it genuine or a mask?" I hesitated. That question cut closer than I expected. I want to be honest, but I couldn't reveal my true intentions. "A little of both," I said finally. "The world doesn't reward honesty as much as it rewards cleverness." She nodded slowly, clearly weighing my words. "Perhaps, but cleverness can be dangerous when misused." "Agreed," I said, "which is why I try to use it wisely." She studied me in silence, and the tension between us was palpable, a subtle game of which was unfolding, each of us testing boundaries, gauging reactions. I could feel the faint thrill of connection beneath the strategy, something I hadn't expected. "Do you always talk this much at events?" she asked suddenly, breaking the silence. "Not always," I said. "Only when someone makes it interesting." "Interesting?" she repeated, clearly amused. "You," I said simply. She laughed softly again. My pulse spiked, and I cursed under my breath for letting her get to me. "Focus. Revenge. Don't get distracted." "You have a way of making simple words feel significant," she said quietly, and I swallowed hard, aware of the spark growing between us. "I could say the same about you," I admitted. Even though it sounded dangerously close to truth, she tilted her head, regarding me with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "You're unpredictable," she said finally. "Perhaps," I replied. "Or perhaps I'm just aware of what's worth noticing." She didn't answer immediately, instead studying me, and in that silence, I realized something unsettling. She could see through facades. She demanded honesty in subtle ways, forcing me to balance my plan with my feelings. "I think you're enjoying this conversation too much," she said finally with a sly grin. "Perhaps I am. I admit it. And perhaps I enjoy meeting someone who challenges me." Her expression softened slightly. "Challenges are rare. Don't waste them." I smiled faintly, feeling the faint tug of admiration and something more dangerous. Curiosity. My heart, still bruised from Alina, pulsed unpredictably. This woman, Isabella, was supposed to be a tool. Now I realized she could become a complication I hadn't anticipated. "Tell me something," she said, voice lighter now. "Why are you really here?" I met her gaze, weighing every word. "To learn," I said finally. "About people, about life, and maybe about myself." She raised an eyebrow. "That's surprisingly honest." "Truth can be dangerous," I said softly, "but it can also be illuminating." She nodded slowly, a flicker of respect in her eyes. "Then let's see what we can learn from each other." I felt a small thrill, a dangerous spark that was both exciting and unsettling. She had no idea that part of me was calculating, scheming, planning. but she had already begun to pierce through my carefully constructed walls. And I realized, as I offered her a smile and extended my hand, that tonight had changed something within me. Not just a plan, not just revenge. Something else. Something I wasn't ready to name, but I knew one thing for certain. Isabella wasn't going to make this easy, and I liked that. I didn't see it coming. Not at all. The knock at my apartment door was hesitant, almost careful, like whoever was feared what they'd find inside. I froze, gripping the edge of my desk. "Omar," I muttered under my breath, but the voice that replied wasn't him. "Hey, can we talk?" My heart stopped. I knew that voice anywhere. Alina that I didn't answer immediately. My mind raced. She shouldn't be here. She wasn't allowed. I hadn't forgiven her. I hadn't even begun. Yet the sound of her voice brought memories crashing back, sharp and sweet at the same time. I opened the door slowly, keeping my expression neutral. "Alina." "Hi," she said softly, her eyes darting around my apartment like she was nervous. "I want to see you. I need to explain." "Explain," I repeated, my voice tighter than I intended. "You disappeared. Left me without a word. Explain what exactly." She swallowed and looked down at her hands. "I made a huge mistake. I didn't know what I was doing. I realized I can't stop thinking about you. About us. I'm sorry. I want to fix things." I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in my ears. "Fix things? Do you even know what you broke?" Her eyes glistened, and she took a small step closer. "I know I hurt you, more than I can ever apologize for. But I'm asking, please, just talk to me. Hear me out." I shook my head, forcing myself to step back. "I don't know if I can. You left me. Alina, do you even understand what that means? The humiliation? The betrayal?" "I do," she whispered, almost pleading. "I know I was selfish, but I can't live like this without trying to make it right. You deserve to know the truth." I studied her, searching for deceit, manipulation, anything. Part of me wanted to believe her. Another part, the larger part, burned with anger. "And what truth is that?" I asked coldly. She hesitated. "That I was confused. That I let someone else influence me. I made a terrible choice. But it's done. I want to come back." "Come back?" I said, my voice rising. "You just vanish, leave my life in ruins, and now you waltz in asking for a second chance." "Yes," she said quietly. "I know I don't deserve it, but I feel it's my responsibility to try." I clenched my fists, struggling to keep my composure. My mind flashed to Richard, to Isabella, to everything I was building, my careful plan to regain control. She couldn't just reappear like this. Not now. Why now? I asked, why after everything? Did someone make you feel guilty? Or are you trying to manipulate me? Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to manipulate you. I love you. I made a mistake, and I'm here to fix it. If you'll let me." I turned away, running a hand over my face. Rage and longing warred inside me. "You think you can just fix this with words? With tears?" "I know it won't be easy," she said softly. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But please, I had to try." I felt something shift inside me. Memories of laughter, late-night conversations, the plans we made, but I reminded myself of the sharp betrayal. I couldn't let myself fall into that trap again. I can't," I said finally, my voice barely a whisper. "You hurt me too much." Her lips trembled. "I understand. I wanted you to hear me out." I nodded stiffly. "You've been heard. That's enough." She lingered a moment longer, then nodded and left, leaving a silence that felt heavier than her presence, and oh, sooner had I closed the door than my phone buzzed. A message from Isabella. "I saw you today. Care to explain?" I froze, reading the words over again. She was observing me. Already, I knew I had to keep my cool. Couldn't let her see my turmoil. I typed carefully. It was nothing, just someone from the past. Seconds later, she replied, Your tone doesn't match. Something tells me there's more." I leaned back in my chair, jaw tight. She was perceptive, intelligent, dangerous in ways I hadn't anticipated. And yet part of me relished the challenge. The rest of the day passed in a haze. Alina's return haunted me, and Isabella's suspicions gnawed at the back of my mind. Every text, every glance, every subtle observation from Isabella reminded me that I couldn't falter. Not now it'd be white evening. I had to see Isabella again. She was hosting a small gathering at her penthouse. I arrived, calm on the surface, but the tension inside me was electric. "Good evening," she said, greeting me with her usual poised smile. "Evening," I said. "It's quite the view." She laughed lightly. "I try, but I think you noticed something else today, didn't you?" I smiled faintly, masking the internal panic. "Perhaps, but I assure you, it's nothing worth worrying about." "Nothing?" she repeated, arching an eyebrow. "You seem unsettled, distracted. Care to elaborate?" I chuckled softly. "Life has its surprises." She tilted her head. "Yes, but most people handle surprises better than you. Are you hiding something?" I studied her, weighing every word. Could I deflect, lie, or risk a half-truth? "Perhaps," I said finally, "but not everything is meant to be revealed." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "I'll hold you to that, then. I like observing people who hide their truths." I shook my head, impressed despite myself. "You're dangerously perceptive. Better that than oblivious," she replied. "But don't worry. I won't pry too much." Her playful tone didn't mask the sharpness behind her words. Every interaction was a subtle duel of observation and strategy, and I had to constantly calculate, constantly anticipate. Yet, underneath that calculation, I felt the faintest stirrings of something else. Confusion, curiosity, a spark I hadn't expected. Not after Lena.my phone buzz again. Another message from her. "I hope your evening goes smoothly, but I'll be watching just in case." I put away, a strange mix of thrill and irritation bubbling inside me. I could feel the duality taking shape. Part of me a schemer, focused on revenge. Part of me intrigued by this woman who had already begun to see through my carefully constructed layers. And then, as the night stretched on, I realized the challenge wasn't just controlling Isabella's perception or keeping Alina at bay. It was controlling myself. Because the more I interacted with Isabella, the more I felt the tension between the plan and the unexpected emotion she stirred. And I hated it. But part of me couldn't stop paying attention by the end of the evening. I was exhausted, mentally and emotionally. Two fronts. Alina with her manipulative charm. Isabel with her sharp mind and growing suspicion. Both demanded focus. Both tested my patience, my self-control. And yet, somewhere deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning. I had to navigate carefully, keep my plan intact, and yet I had to confront feelings I wasn't ready to admit. Feelings that could ruin everything if I wasn't careful. And yes, I stepped into the elevator. I whispered to myself, one misstep, and it all collapses. Stay sharp. Control everything. But God, why does it feel like I'm losing control already? I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. Focus. Revenge. Strategy. That was the mission. Emotions were dangerous distractions, but they were already there, lurking, waiting, and I couldn't ignore them. I arrived at Richard's mansion with the kind of calm I perfected over weeks. Inside, the walls were filled with art and trophies of a life meticulously curated. But I wasn't here to admire it. I was here to gain control, to play the game, and to stay 3 moves ahead. Isabella greeted me at the door, her expression a mix of curiosity and caution. "You're punctual," she said, smirking. "I like to respect schedules," I replied, keeping my tone light. "And impress hosts, of course." She tilted her head, clearly amused. "Smooth, I'll give you that." "I've learned from the best," I said casually, letting a faint grin touch my lips. She laughed softly. "Confident. Dangerous. Dangerous is attractive, in moderation. I'll try to keep moderation in mind." I said, as we moved into the living room. Richard entered, his presence commanding. "Ah, there's the man I've heard so much about," he said, eyes sharp. "Impressive punctuality. I like that." "Thank you, sir," I said, bowing slightly, letting respect blend with charm. Richard studied me closely. "You're ambitious. I can see that. Ambition is good, but be careful how you wield it. I intend to, I replied, every move calculated. His eyes flicked toward Isabella, and I felt the weight of scrutiny. Winning his trust wasn't just about words. It was about posture, timing, tone, and subtle displays of insight. I had to convince him I was reliable without revealing my real motives. Dinner progressed. Conversation flowed easily between Isabella and me. I asked questions about her recent projects, listened attentively to her stories, and occasionally teased lightly to earn a smile. Her laughter felt genuine, and I realized I was enjoying it more than I expected. Sometimes I wonder, she said after a pause, leaning slightly closer, if you enjoy these events for yourself or for the impression you make. Both, I replied carefully. Impressions matter, but so does experience. Life is richer when observed closely. Observing closely can also be manipulative, she said, raising an eyebrow. Are you manipulating me? I smiled faintly. Perhaps. Or perhaps I'm simply learning. There's a difference. She studied me, her eyes sharp, but her expression softened slightly. Clever. I like that. But remember, clever can be dangerous if misused. I keep that in mind, I said. The evening was going well, but shadow lingered in my mind. Alina, I hadn't expected her to appear so soon, yet the moment she walked into my office earlier that week, I felt my chest tighten. Now, memories of her words, her apologetic tone, her eyes begging for forgiveness, collided with my desire for revenge. Later that evening, she called me. Can we meet? She asked softly, and I hesitated. Why? You've already disrupted my life once. I need to talk, she said. I've realized I made a mistake. I can't stop thinking about you. I ran a hand over my face. Alina, I can't just forget what you did. I don't expect you to, she said. I just want a chance to explain. I let out a harsh laugh. Explain? You abandoned me. There's nothing left to explain except why you betrayed me. Her voice wavered. I was confused. I let someone else influence me. But I regret it. I want to make it right. And how exactly do you intend to do that? I asked coldly. She hesitated. By being honest. By proving I care. By trying to earn your trust again. I shook my head. Trust isn't given lightly, Alina, and yours is shattered. I understand, she whispered, but I can't ignore what I feel. I could hear the sincerity, but I reminded myself of my plan. I couldn't let old feelings derail the strategy one had meticulously built. You should leave it alone, I said finally. You've caused enough chaos already. Please, she said softly, just let me try. I can't, I replied firmly. You made your choice. Don't come back asking for what you threw away. She didn't answer immediately, just sighed. I see. I suppose I deserve that. Good, I said. Now go. After the call ended, I sank into my chair, my mind a battlefield. Rage, longing, and strategic calculation warred for dominance. I couldn't let Alina's return weaken me, yet the memories of our past clung stubbornly. The next day, Isabella invited me to a family brunch at her estate. I knew this was another test, not just a charm, but of patience and subtlety. Richard's eyes constantly flicked toward me, evaluating, analyzing. I smiled politely, nodded at his comments, and ensured my conversation with Isabella remained balanced, friendly, attentive, and careful not to reveal more than necessary. Halfway through, Isabella leaned slightly toward me. You seem distant, she whispered. Something bothering you? I forced a smile. Just preoccupied with business matters. She said skeptically. You're good at hiding things. But some emotion slipped through. I nodded slowly, carefully. Perhaps, but only to those who observe closely. She raised an eyebrow. I'm observant. I chuckled softly, feeling the subtle tension grow. Isabella's perception was sharper than I anticipated, and it made me respect her intelligence even more. But it also complicated my plan. She could see parts of me I wasn't ready to reveal. As the afternoon wore on, Alina called again. Please, she said. I just want to meet. One more time. Can't we talk? I clenched my jaw, feeling the heat of frustration. No, I said. I've told you already. You can't undo what's been done. I need you to hear me, she pleaded. I regret everything. I ran a hand through my hair. Alina, you don't get to play with my emotions. Not again. Please, she said softly. Just a chance. Listen, I said firmly. I'm not the man you left. I've changed, and you'll find it's too late for second chances. She stayed silent, then whispered, I understand. I ended the call and exhaled sharply. My mind was a tangled mess, Alina's manipulative charm still lingering, Isabella's scrutiny growing sharper, and the plan requiring unwavering precision. I couldn't afford weakness. Later, Isabella caught me alone in the study. You've been distracted lately, she said softly. Is someone from your past troubling you? I studied her carefully. Perhaps, I admitted cautiously, but it's nothing that affects what matters now. She nodded, but the curiosity in her eyes was unmistakable. You're complicated. I want to understand you. Understanding comes slowly, I said, and sometimes it's more dangerous than ignorance. Her lips curved faintly. I'll take that risk. I felt a subtle thrill. She was intelligent, observant, and already questioning things she shouldn't know. Yet, part of me welcomed the challenge. She was becoming more than a pawn. She was a partner in this subtle game of strategy, and I couldn't deny the spark she ignited. And yet, every time I thought of Alina, the old wound throbbed, reminding me of betrayal, pain, and the careful balance I had to maintain. I was walking a fine line between love, revenge, and morality, and each step demanded caution. As I left the state that evening, I whispered to myself, stay focused, play the game. But remember, every choice has consequences, and some emotions are harder to control than any strategy. I knew this was only the beginning of a war fought with words, glances, and subtle moves, and I was determined to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. The moment had come. Weeks of planning, subtle hints, and carefully constructed interactions led to this night. I had invited Isabella and Richard to dinner under the guise of casual conversation, but my intention was clear in my mind. The proposal, we sat in the private dining room of a high-end restaurant. Candlelight flickered, casting soft shadows on Isabella's face. I watched her closely, noting the slight nervousness beneath her composed exterior. She had no idea what was coming. Richard poured wine for us, his gaze flicking between Isabella and me. So, what's on your mind tonight, young man? He asked casually. I smiled, keeping my tone light. Actually, sir, I've been thinking a lot about the future, about commitment, trust, and partnership. Richard raised an eyebrow. That sounds serious. Do tell. I took a slow breath, letting my words land with careful precision. I've realized that some people are indispensable in life. People who challenge you, inspire you, and make you want to be better. People you want by your side through everything. Isabella's eyes widened slightly, her lips parting in curiosity that Richard's gaze sharpened. Are we talking business or personal? I leaned in slightly, locking eyes with Isabella, letting the tension build. Both. But tonight, I want to speak personally. She blinked, unsure how to respond, while Richard's expression shifted to guarded interest. Isabella, I said softly, my voice steady, I've spent weeks thinking about this, about us, about the future, and I've realized I don't want to waste another moment. Her brow furrowed. Another moment? Yes, I said, smiling gently. I want you by my side, not just for convenience, not just for appearances. I want to be your partner in everything, and I want to make it official. She leaned back slightly, surprised. You're serious? Absolutely, I said. Isabella, will you marry me? The room went silent. Even the faint clink of cutlery seemed loud. I watched her face carefully. Shock, disbelief, and something softer, curiosity, perhaps, flickered in her eyes that Richard's jaw tightened. Excuse me, he asked, his voice a mix of surprise and irritation. I met his gaze evenly. Sir, I know this is sudden, but I've thought it through. I intend to care for your daughter, support her ambitions, and be someone you can trust. I want this to be real. Isabella's hands trembled slightly as she clasped them together. I don't know what to say. You don't have to answer immediately, I said. Just know this is genuine. My intentions are sincere. Richard studied me closely, the silence stretching uncomfortably. And what about Alina? He asked finally, a flicker of recognition in his tone, and I smiled faintly, keeping my composure. Alina is part of the past. She's made her choices, and I've made mine. My focus is the present. My focus is Isabella. Richard's eyes narrowed slightly, but he said nothing more. Isabella, however, finally found her voice. This is a lot to process, she said softly. You're serious, right? This isn't some scheme? I chuckled lightly, letting charm mask strategy. It's entirely serious. I wouldn't ask if I didn't mean it. Her eyes searched mine, lingering, searching for any hint of deception. I let a fraction of honesty slip through, enough to soothe suspicion, but not enough to reveal my full intentions. You realize this changes everything, she whispered. I do, I replied, and I'm ready for it, for everything it entails. Her lips curved faintly. I don't know what to say. I'm shocked. Then say yes, I said softly, with a calm certainty that left no room for doubt. Or say nothing for now. Just think. She nodded slowly, still absorbing the gravity of the moment. Richard cleared his throat, his tone stern. This is unconventional, he said, but I appreciate honesty and confidence. If your intentions are as genuine as you claim, I will consider it. I inclined my head politely. Thank you, sir. That means a lot. Later that night, after leaving the restaurant, my phone buzzed. Alina. I ignored it. The next message came seconds later. You can't do this. You belong to me. I smirked, typing back carefully. You left me once. Don't expect a second chance. Her response was immediate. You think this ends with her? You'll regret it. I'm not done. I read the words, feeling a twinge of something. Fury? Amusement? I wasn't sure. But I knew one thing. She would show her true colors, desperate and manipulative, and I was finally free of her control. The following morning, Isabella met me for brunch. She looked composed, but I could sense the internal processing. You really did it, she said softly, sipping her coffee. You proposed. Bold move. I believe in decisive action, I said lightly, and timing is everything. She studied me, her green eyes intense. You're not who I thought you were. You're clever, strategic, and a little unpredictable. I smiled faintly. Unpredictable keeps life interesting. She laughed softly. I suppose it does. But do you ever worry you're manipulating everyone? Manipulation is a tool, I said carefully, but the intent matters. I'm not cruel without reason. Her gaze lingered on me, thoughtful. I believe you. Somehow I do. I felt a subtle victory. Not only had I shocked Richard, but Isabella's trust, fragile though it was beginning to form. She was seeing me as more than a schemer, and that gave me leverage, both personal and strategic. Later that day, I received a barrage of messages from Alina, escalating in intensity. This isn't over. You'll see. I won't let you take her from me. I read each one carefully, suppressing the flicker of old feelings, the tiny tug of doubt. My plan was working. My revenge was unfolding. And yet, part of me, the part that still remembered love, betrayal, and heartbreak, whispered caution. I looked at myself in the mirror that evening. My reflection stared back, confident, charming, controlled. But beneath it, I felt the faint stirrings of guilt, doubt, and curiosity about what the future truly held. Could I maintain this balance, love and strategy, trust and deception, without losing myself? I didn't answer immediately. I only allowed a small smile to form. Victory was mine tonight, but the game was far from over. And one thing was certain. Alina's fury and desperation had only intensified my resolve. By the time I prepared for bed, I whispered to myself, this is the turning point. Isabella, Richard, even Alina, everyone is in play, and I'll control the outcome, no matter what it takes. I allowed myself one last thought before sleep. The stakes were higher than ever, but so was the thrill of winning. Every move from this point would define not just my revenge, but my life, and I was ready. I watched quietly from across the room as Alina tried to weave her usual web of charm and deceit. The gathering was small, selective, but high in influence, a perfect arena for subtle justice. She approached a few key figures, speaking with that silky tone, the one I once fell for. "I didn't mean for things to happen that way," she said, tilted her head with calculated innocence that I stepped closer, letting a faint smile play on my lips. "Alina," I said softly, loud enough for a few nearby ears. "Careful how you spin your story. People notice inconsistencies. Small lies have a way of unraveling quickly." Her eyes flickered at me, a mix of shock and defensiveness. "I don't know what you mean," she replied, voice a notch higher than usual. "Oh, I think you do," I said calmly, my tone smooth, precise. "You left, claiming regret, and yet you've told everyone a different story. Some even question your motives now." She opened her mouth, stammered, and shut it again. The tension was electric. A few glances from others already hinted they were noticing cracks in her carefully constructed facade. I moved closer, keeping my posture casual, controlled. "It's fascinating," I continued, "how quickly trust evaporates when words don't align with actions." Her face flushed slightly. You can't just say things like that," she whispered. "I can," I said, voice low but firm, "because now the truth is out there. People will see what I saw: abandonment, manipulation, betrayal. And credibility? That's a fragile thing." She glared at me, but it was too late. The damage was subtle but undeniable. Conversations that once welcomed her were now tinged with doubt, eyes flicking toward me, curiosity mingling with suspicion. Later, Richard approached, his expression unreadable. "You've handled that cleverly," he said quietly. "I underestimated you." I inclined my head politely. "Thank you, sir. I believe honesty and strategy should always work together." He studied me for a long moment. "I see now that you're not just bold, you're intelligent, precise. I respect that." I allowed a faint smile, savoring the acknowledgement. Not triumph yet, not fully, but the shift in power was clear. Alina, noticing Richard's glance toward me, tried to intervene. "Richard, don't." He cut her off with a slight gesture. "Alina, I think it's time you reflect. Actions have consequences." Her mouth opened, closed, open again. I could see the realization dawning, her control slipping, credibility eroding in real time. Later, she confronted me in a quieter corner, fury barely contained. "This isn't over," she hissed, voice trembling. "You think you can humiliate me and walk away untouched?" I met her gaze evenly. "Humiliate isn't my goal. Truth is, and truth has a way of finding its path." "You've changed," she spat. "You're cruel now. What happened to the man who loved me?" I felt a faint twinge of that old ache, but I didn't let it surface. "The man who loved you was blindsided by your lies. He's not here tonight. Tonight, there's only clarity." Her hand shook slightly. "You don't understand?" "I understand more than you think," I interrupted gently but firmly. "I understand manipulation, deceit, betrayal. And I also understand consequence." Her lips parted, as if to argue, but she knew she had no ground left. I had anticipated every move, observed every nuance, and acted with precision. You think you won," she whispered finally, voice barely audible. "I don't think," I said softly. "I know." She turned away, shoulders slumping, the fire in her eyes dimming. I could feel the bitter satisfaction settle in. Not sweet victory, not triumph in the usual sense, but the calm satisfaction of justice served. Later, Isabella joined me, her gaze bright with curiosity. "That was impressive," she said quietly. "You dismantled her carefully, without overt confrontation, and yet everyone noticed." I didn't want humiliation. I said honestly, I wanted reality to speak. The rest happens naturally. She nodded thoughtfully. "It's almost poetic. But does it feel as satisfying as you imagined?" I hesitated. "Not exactly," I admitted. "Revenge is not as sweet when you realize the emptiness it leaves behind. There's clarity, yes, but there's also a subtle void." Her hand brushed mine lightly. "I suppose some victories are more internal than external." I let a faint smile touch my lips. "Exactly. But that clarity, it's powerful. It's control. And I intend to keep it." The evening drew on, and Alina's attempts to regain footing became desperate, fragile. Whispers followed her, subtle glances, muted comments. She realized that her schemes had not only failed, but now exposed her vulnerability to everyone she once influenced. I caught a glimpse of her leaving the room, head bowed slightly, pride broken. And in that, a strange mix of pity and satisfaction swirled inside me. I hadn't wanted her ruin. I wanted justice, balance, the reclamation of my own dignity. Later, alone with Isabella, I reflected quietly. You see, I said, watching her closely, the hardest part isn't the plan. It's navigating the aftermath, maintaining control while staying true to your own intentions. She nodded. And you've done both. Carefully, precisely. But it hasn't made you entirely happy, has it? No, I admitted softly. Not entirely. There's a subtle emptiness in knowing revenge works. It doesn't heal all wounds, but it does restore a kind of balance. She studied me, a flicker of understanding in her eyes. And that's enough for now. I allowed a small laugh. For now, life has a way of presenting new challenges once the old ones are resolved. A quiet silence fell over us, comfortable yet charged. The world outside moved on, unaware of the intricate battles we'd fought and won, or lost. In subtle ways, that MY phone buzzed. A message from Alina. You think this ends here? You'll regret underestimating me. I stared at it briefly, then deleted it without response. She had reached the limit of her influence. Karma had caught up. My life, my strategy, my dignity, reclaimed. I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on the day. The satisfaction of seeing Alina face consequences was undeniable. Yet the hollow echo within reminded me that revenge is rarely complete fulfillment. It's a tool, a moment, a shifting of power, and I had wielded it wisely. Richard's respect, Isabella's cautious trust, the subtle dismantling of Alina's schemes, all were pieces of the larger puzzle. And in that puzzle, I found clarity. Alone in my study later, I whispered to myself, justice is served. Yet the heart still seeks something more. Control, perhaps, but also peace. I closed my eyes, the faint ache of old wounds lingering. I had won the game, but I knew this was only one battle in a longer war. One that involved not just strategy and revenge, but also emotions I hadn't fully reconciled. And yet, I was ready. The morning sunlight spilled across Isabella's study, illuminating her focused expression as she reviewed documents. I leaned casually against the doorway, coffee in hand, watching her for a moment longer than I probably should have. You're staring, she said without looking up, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. I'm observing, I replied lightly. It's fascinating to see someone so dedicated and meticulous. She glanced up, eyes narrowing playfully. Meticulous, huh? That's one way to put it. Another way might be obsessive, but I'll take meticulous as a compliment. You're allowed to be both, I said, setting my cup down. It's part of the charm. Her lips curved into a smile, and for a moment, the weight of everything else, the schemes, the manipulation, the past, felt distant. It was just her and me in a quiet, simple moment. Do you ever stop analyzing everything? She asked softly. Even people? Not easily, I admitted. But with you, I find myself wondering less. That's new. Her head tilted slightly, studying me. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends on perspective, I said. For mine, it's good. She leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. You've changed, you know. You're not just strategic and calculating anymore. You're more human. I felt a flicker of guilt at her words. Human, huh? I suppose that comes with mistakes, regrets, and occasionally redemption. She laughed softly, the sound warm and genuine. Redemption suits you. I looked away briefly, hiding the subtle pang of self-reproach. I'm still figuring that out. Redemption, love, honesty, all of it. Her eyes softened. It's okay to admit that, to let yourself feel something real, not just plans and schemes. I nodded slowly, my mind racing. She had no idea how tangled this all was. The revenge, the manipulation, the strategy. And yet, here she was, challenging me emotionally, making me feel something I hadn't allowed myself in months. Later, we walked to the gardens of her estate. The air was crisp, the scent of flowers delicate, but my thoughts were anything but light. "You've been distant at times," she said carefully. "I can feel when something weighs on you." I stopped and faced her, trying to keep my expression neutral. "I've carried past burdens, but they're not yours to bear." She shook her head, stepping closer. "We're partners. Partners share burdens. Don't shut me out just because you think it's easier." Her sincerity struck me harder than I expected. I'm not used to trusting someone completely. I confessed. "And yet with you, I want to try. I want to be honest." Her eyes widened slightly. "Honest? You're serious." "Completely," I said, taking a slow breath. "I've manipulated, I've planned, I've calculated, but with you, I can't. Not entirely. I care too much to hide anymore." She studied me silently, then reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. "That's brave," she said softly, "and terrifying." "I suppose bravery and terror often go hand in hand," I replied, allowing a small smile. For the first time in weeks, the tension between us softened. It wasn't just charm or strategy anymore. It was connection, vulnerability, and the quiet acknowledgement that what had begun as a game had grown into something real. Later that evening, we shared dinner in her private lounge. Candles flickered, casting a warm glow, but it was her words, her presence, that filled the room. "You've been different lately," she said, swirling her wine glass. "More open, more genuine. It's nice, and confusing in a good way. I've learned that honesty, even when it's uncomfortable, can be more powerful than any plan," I admitted. "It's not easy, but it feels right." She leaned closer, curiosity and warmth mingling in her gaze. "Do you like me? Really like me? Or is this another clever maneuver?" I held her gaze steadily. "No maneuver. No game. This is genuine. I like you more than I expected, more than I planned, and it terrifies me." Her lips curved slightly. "I'm glad to hear that, because I feel the same, even when I shouldn't." I chuckled softly, heart thudding. Even when we're supposed to be cautious, calculating, strategic feelings find a way. She reached across the table, taking my hand. "Exactly. And maybe that's what makes them real. Unpredictable, uncontrollable, and beautiful." I squeezed her hand gently. "Beautiful, yes, and dangerous, too." She smiled, a mix of mischief and affection. "Dangerous with you is exciting, not threatening, but thrilling." The vulnerability between us deepened, the walls I had built crumbling slowly. I realized then that true strength didn't lie in revenge or control. It lay in allowing someone in, trusting, and feeling even when the risk was high. Later that night, she caught me staring at the city lights from the balcony. "Thinking?" she asked softly. "About everything," I admitted. "The past, the games, the mistakes, and now this." She leaned against me gently. And I don't want to lose this. Whatever this is. Not again." Her hand found mine, fingers intertwining. "You won't. Not with me. I trust you, and I believe in us." I felt a warmth spread through me I hadn't felt in months. Something beyond triumph or strategy. Something deeper, softer, and undeniably real. "I'll do my best," I whispered, "to deserve that trust, to be worthy of you." She rested her head against my shoulder, and for a moment, all the tension, the schemes, the ghosts of Alina and betrayal, faded. It was just us quiet, connected, human. "I never expected this," she murmured. "From revenge to this. It's strange, but right." I smiled faintly. Life has a way of surprising us. And sometimes the surprises are the best part. She looked up at me, eyes glimmering. "Even the ones that make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself?" "Especially those," I said, leaning closer, "because they teach you more than any plan, any scheme ever could." We stayed there, hand in hand, words fading, silence speaking volumes. For the first time, I understood that strength wasn't about outsmarting others or reclaiming power. It was about vulnerability, trust, and the courage to love despite the risks. As the night deepened, I whispered softly, "I don't want this to be about revenge anymore. I want this to be about us. about growth, honesty, and connection. She smiled against my shoulder. I liked the sound of that. About us. Not games. Not plans. Just us. And in that quiet moment, I felt a shift, not just in strategy or victory, but in myself. Revenge had taught me lessons, exposed weaknesses, and forced growth. But love, unexpected, unplanned, and genuine, that was the ultimate transformation. I had begun as a man consumed by betrayal, cunning, and desire for control. Now, I was someone willing to open his heart, to risk, to trust, and to love. And as Isabella whispered my name softly in the darkness, I realized a truth I had long resisted. Some victories aren't measured in revenge, in power, or in strategy. They're measured in courage, in honesty, and in allowing yourself to truly feel. And tonight, I felt it all. The moment had finally arrived. The confrontation I had imagined countless times in the quiet of my mind. Alina had reached out again, desperate, pleading, attempting to pull me back into the chaos she caused. But I was no longer the man who had been blindsided. I can't stop thinking about you. Her voice trembled as she stepped into the room where I waited. I made a mistake. I need you. Please just hear me out. I stayed seated, my expression calm but firm. Alina, I've heard enough. You don't get to rewrite the past because you're uncomfortable with the consequences. Her eyes widened, disbelief mingled with fear. But I love you. Don't you feel the same? I shook my head slowly. Love isn't built on lies, manipulation, or betrayal. You left me, and you made your choices. I accepted that. What I won't accept is being dragged back into something toxic. She took a hesitant step closer. You're being cruel after everything we had. I'm being wise. I interrupted. Cruelty implies I gained something from your suffering. Wisdom, clarity, and peace. Those are what I gained from moving forward. You've already suffered the natural consequences of your actions. That's justice, not revenge. Her face fell. You don't understand. I do understand, I said softly but firmly. I understand betrayal. I understand regret. I understand manipulation and how it can destroy trust. But I also understand growth, resilience, and emotional maturity. And I've learned to protect myself. That includes saying no to you. She swallowed hard, tears glistening. So it's over? You'll just forget me? I sighed. Not forget, but I will leave the past behind. You'll always be part of my story, but not part of my future. Her shoulders slumped. I guess I underestimated you. Not underestimated. I said, you misjudged me, and now you know better. For a long moment, silence hung between us. Then she whispered, almost to herself, I hope you find happiness. I already have. I said quietly and meant it. Later that evening, Isabella joined me in the study. She had been present for confrontation, observing quietly, giving me space while understanding the gravity of the moment. You handled that well, she said softly, sitting beside me. Not easy, standing firm when old feelings and history are involved. I had to. I admitted it was part of closure, part of moving forward. And having you here made it easier, made me realize what matters most. She reached for my hand, fingers intertwining. We both seen a lot of chaos, manipulation, and schemes. But through it, I think we found something real, something worth protecting. I nodded. Yes, something real, and something that isn't built on deception or revenge. Her eyes softened. Are you ready for tomorrow? I chuckled softly. More than ready. Nervous? A little. Excited? Absolutely. But ready to commit to us. Her smile was radiant. Good, because we'll face the future together. The wedding day arrived, calm yet electric. Guests gathered, the air filled with excitement, but I felt a quiet sense of control and clarity. This wasn't about power, revenge, or showing anyone what I'd achieved. This was about love, trust, and emotional maturity. Richard greeted me first. You've grown, he said, voice sincere. Not just in business or strategy, but as a man. I trust you with Isabella, and that means more than I can put into words. Thank you, sir, I replied, bowing slightly. I won't let you down. Isabella appeared then, breathtaking in her gown. The nervous excitement in her eyes mirrored my own. She approached, and as we stood together, the world seemed to shrink around us. Just the two of us, and the promise of a future built on honesty and trust. "You look amazing," I said quietly. "And you look at peace," she replied softly. "I like this version of you." I smiled, taking her hands. "I like it too. Better than I ever imagined. Stronger, calmer, and capable of loving fully, not just strategically." She squeezed my hands gently. "I love that man." "I love you," I said, and the words felt heavier, more meaningful than any strategic move, any carefully calculated plan. This was pure, real, and entirely my own. The ceremony proceeded, simple yet elegant. Vows were exchanged, hands were held, and promises were made, not out of obligation, but out of genuine intention. "I promise to stand by you," I said, voice steady. "To love you, respect you, and face life together in honesty and trust." "And I promise," Isabella replied, "to be your partner, your confidant, and your strength through every challenge and triumph." When the rings were exchanged and the officiant pronounced us married, I felt a surge of calm triumph. Not revenge, not power, but clarity, resolution, and emotional transformation. Later, in the quiet of our private room, Isabella handed me a small envelope. "For you," she said softly. I opened to find a letter from my own past, from months ago, one I had written but never sent to Alina. It was filled with raw emotion, reflections on betrayal, and hopes for understanding. The irony struck me, but instead of regret, I felt closure. "I didn't know you kept this," I said, glancing up at Isabella. "I thought you might need it," she said. "A reminder of how far you've come and what you've overcome." I smiled, folding the letter carefully. "You're right. I have come far, and I've learned more than I ever expected. Trust, resilience, love, they're all lessons I'll carry forward." She leaned against me. "And you won't have to carry them alone." "No," I said softly. "Not alone. With you." That evening, we celebrated quietly with close friends and family. Omar and Rashid toasted, laughter mingling with heartfelt words. Even Richard, usually reserved, shared a sincere smile and words of approval. "You've changed everything," he said, clapping my shoulder. "And in doing so, you've proven yourself not just a strategist, but a man of character." "Thank you," I replied, genuinely moved. "I hope I can live up to that." Isabella squeezed my hand. "You already have." I looked around at the people who had supported me, guided me, and challenged me. Every betrayal, every setback, every moment of heartbreak had led to this clarity. Growth, love, and emotional strength. Alina's memory lingered, not as a wound, but as a lesson. Her betrayal had shaped me, but it no longer controlled me. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my capacity to love fully. I whispered softly, more to myself than anyone else. This is the ending, but also the beginning of love, trust, and resilience, of a life lived on my own terms. Isabella leaned her head against my shoulder, and I closed my eyes briefly, savoring the moment. The chaos, the manipulation, and the revenge were behind us. Ahead lay something far more profound, a partnership built on honesty, shared growth, and genuine affection. And in that quiet, perfect moment, I knew, finally, that I had truly transformed.